Hello and good evening to everyone that's tuned in to our last community broadcast with Chrysalis for 2020. We'll tell you more about that in a bit. We just wanted to check in, let everybody know you're in the right place if you didn't already know that. And thank you for your time and for joining us tonight. As a reminder, at the end of this broadcast, as is the case with all of our broadcasts, we will have some time for a Q&A. So if you have questions about the topics we cover throughout the evening, feel free to send those through. But if you have questions about other topics, definitely feel free to send those through as well. We will be starting shortly, and probably less than a minute if we're, going according to Chrysalis code and being on time. But I will be sharing a link to our next community broadcast, the first of 2021, in the chat. So definitely feel free to RSVP for that while we have some time, or save the link for later. You can also find it by navigating to changelives.org and checking out the how to get involved, attend events. All right, with that, I would like to pass it off to Mark, our host for this evening, to introduce our special guests.
Thanks, Tiffany. Hello, everybody. Welcome. As you can tell, I'm standing in front of our Orange County building today. It's amazing how Zoom allows us to transport across the world. Thanks for everybody taking a little time out this evening to learn more about our impact during this pandemic, as well as some cool stuff that goes on behind the scenes with Chrysalis. Tonight, we're going to be focused on talking with some very special friends from Orange County who volunteer their time and resources to help make our presence there in the community as successful as it's been. And we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. But as Tiffany mentioned, this is our final broadcast of 2020. And so we'd like to learn a little bit more about our audience that is with us tonight so that we can plan our broadcast for 2021. So Tiffany, I think you're gonna try using the super fancy Zoom poll feature.
That I am. All right. Let's get this launched. All right, folks, so you should be able to see the poll. Mark, can you see it?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. And this is including our special guests as well. The first question is, where are you located? Meaning, where do you primarily reside or work? We have 4 options, 5 options, I can't count. Orange County, Los Angeles County, a place outside of both those counties in California, in the US, but not in California or outside of the US. As some of you have already answered, the second question, have you volunteered with us? That could be in person or virtual, yes or no. It's pretty straightforward. But in terms of hiring Chrysalis clients, that answer could be yes, I've hired Chrysalis clients, no, never, but no, the other option would be no, but I know somebody who does hire Chrysalis clients. And if you are on this call right now and you know our great partner, Heather, who will be joining us shortly, then you can answer no, but I know someone who has. And finally, have you watched the Working for 100 video series? Again, if you haven't heard about that, no worries, we'll get to that in a bit. But we have several videos that have come out. You will see those debut on our social media channels, including Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. And we have several. So maybe you've seen 1, 2, maybe you haven't seen any, but maybe you've heard about it. So thank you all for your answers. I will end the poll in a few seconds, and then we'll get to look at those results.
Thanks, Tiffany. That's great. Thanks, everybody, for participating. And I love that we've got a big representation from Orange County tonight. That's awesome, as well as 3 folks that are not in California. But nobody from outside the US. I'm a little disappointed that we didn't have any international representation today. Anyway, thank you, Tiffany, for doing this. Before we get on to our special guests tonight, I just, as has been our tradition, want to give you an update on how we're doing at Chrysalis. Since the pandemic started back in March, we had to shift everything to virtual services. But we figured it out. I'm so proud of the team that I get to work with every day. We are actively working with 4,400 clients, 4,400 clients via phone, text, email, video, however we can connect with them. Our team has found a way to do that to provide meaningful services to them. And in fact, of that number, 1,600 of them are brand new clients to us. And if you volunteered with us, which many of you have, as we saw from this poll, you know that we've got a pretty involved process of one-on-one services and bringing folks in for orientation and then doing an in-person assessment. We've brought on 1,600 new clients through the virtual means of doing it. So we're really proud of that. But just as importantly, 850 of those clients have found work. And you know, we all know how bad this pandemic has been, both from a public health and safety standpoint, but also from an economic standpoint. The fact that we've been able to help 850 of our clients get back on their feet through meaningful work is something that I think is a really strong testament to the tenacity and resilience of both our clients and our team. And of course, we've got our social enterprises, Chrysalis enterprises, that have been going throughout the pandemic. Last week was one of our biggest payrolls ever within CE. 635 of our clients received paychecks from Chrysalis Enterprises last week. So those are folks that would probably not be working today unless they had the opportunity to work with one of our social enterprises. So we really appreciate many of you on this call tonight that have helped support our work and helped us continue this really important work to the community, which we're going to build on this momentum into 2021. And I'm sure we'll be talking about some specific plans we have for that in the new year. But tonight, what we want to talk about is really what it takes to succeed in a community. And how volunteers that are really passionate about our work can make all the difference in the world. You may be aware that we created a new strategic plan that began in 2017. And part of that plan was to expand our impact by opening new offices in the Southern California area. And we chose to make our first new office, our Anaheim office in Northern Orange County. It was the first new center that we'd opened in 17 years. And while there is tons of risk whenever you start a new endeavor like this, it's been nothing short of a home run for us. Since we opened in the fall of 2019, just almost exactly 2 years ago, we've served over 1,000 clients in the community. 350 of them and counting are now working in outside employment. And our social enterprises have expanded into the community as well. We now have 2 of our roads crews. This is the partnership with the California Department of Transportation. 2 of them are now deploying from Orange County every day, which provides transitional jobs for up to 20 clients every single week. So we're really proud of what we've done, but we couldn't do this if we didn't have folks that were passionate about our work and would help share this work with their networks, with their friends, hire our clients, and help us raise money. And so tonight, we are really fortunate to have 2 leaders from the Orange County community who also happen to be the chair and the co-chair of our Orange County Advisory Council. And so I'd like to bring on Heather Falcone, who is the chair of our advisory council, and Todd Hansen, who's the vice chair. Welcome. Thanks for joining us tonight. Heather, I notice you're not wearing your mask, so I really appreciate that you took it off for the broadcast. That's a big step for you, but you have it handy. It's awesome. First of all, if you could each just introduce yourself in terms of what you do for your day jobs, and because this is Chrysalis and we always talk about jobs, if you could tell us what your first job was.
Heather, why don't you start?
Oh, ladies first. All right. Chivalry is not dead. Thanks, gentlemen. Thanks, Mark, for having us on tonight. And thank you to everybody who tuned in to hear about the OCAC and the impact that Orange County is having on the workforce development and serving Chrysalis clients. So I'm Heather Falcone. I'm the CEO for Thermalvac Technology. It's a small, privately owned family business of 35 years. And we primarily serve the heat treating, brazing, chemical processing industries for aerospace, defense, medical, commercial. My first job, we're going to go traditional, Mark, like the rule. This is a picture of me at my very first job. So this is in 19.
It was a family-owned business.
It is a family-owned business. That's me at age 3. That is our business. That's our very first vacuum furnace that was installed 35 years ago, and I've been there ever since. So that is my very first job, and there's the proof.
That is fantastic. Does this mean you're a rocket scientist?
I am a gangster rocket scientist, not by degree. School of Hard Knocks.
Okay, fair enough. Thanks, Heather. All right, Todd, that's gonna be tough.
Yeah, that is tough to beat. Although I did count up how many jobs I've had when I was prepping for this, and I counted 17. So I've got, I think, 16 on you there, maybe. And in my very first job was newspaper delivery boy, probably around 12 or 13. And what's crazy when I think back about it, like they would drop off all the papers and I would have to put them in rubber bands on my bike and ride around, is I did all the collections. I would go and knock door to door to ask for a donation for the paper. I did that at nighttime when I was like 12, 13 years old. It's hard to imagine doing that now, but that things were different back then. And that was my kind of start. Now I've been at the Community Foundation for almost 20 years now. And I run a division called the Center for Engaged Philanthropy. And what I do is I support philanthropists who really want to get very involved in their giving and do some amazing things. So we've launched new initiatives, we've bought buildings, we do all sorts of kind of things that donors want to make a difference in Orange County. I'm here to help them do it.
That's awesome. You're connecting folks that want to make a difference in their community, but maybe don't know exactly how to do it. You can help them navigate that space. And I see the connection from collecting with the newspapers, because now you're just collecting money from people in a different way and helping them achieve change in the community. So it all started with that paper route on a bike like Heather was riding, probably. See, it all comes, you gotta connect all the dots here. It's awesome. So in my intro, I was talking about how important it is to have folks from the community for a group like us that was new to Orange County, that had to build a brand and connections and all the rest of it. People in the community make that happen. And so we've got this Orange County Advisory Council thing. Todd, could you tell us a little bit about what is this thing?
I sure can. Well, the simple answer is we're just a group of business and nonprofit leaders in Orange County who lend our expertise and talent to support your mission of changing the lives of Orange County's most vulnerable. And like, who doesn't want to help the most vulnerable? And like, when we're privileged, you got to do something. So that's why there's so many of us on this council, as we're really drawn to your mission and what you're doing. A little more specifically, our goal is to really collectively and individually kind of raise more awareness about the work that you're doing and make more connections. And we support the work of getting people on the path to self-sufficiency.
Great, thanks. So Heather, who's doing this? Who's on the council?
We're really blessed to have just a bunch of amazing individuals from well-known organizations that are members of the council, two of which represent Disney. So we've got Susan Santana and Carrie Nocella, both high executives in the Disney parks and resorts companies. We've also got SoCal Gas, Emily Grant, Nancy Morikawa, who is for Pacific Western Bank, and Natalie Rubalcaba, who is the COO and Vice President of Orange County Business Council. So it's recognizable names, it's real leaders of our community, it's people that can open up a lot of opportunity to Chrysalis clients, and we're really excited to have this great cross-section of people contributing.
Yeah, we're blessed and privileged to have all of you a part of it. And I know a number of the members of the committee, including Pauline Hale, I believe, are on the line today. So we really appreciate the work and effort. How did you get involved in Chrysalis? I know the answer to this. We have a secret weapon. Lisa Douillet, our development director in Orange County, she works really hard at this, but maybe if you could each share with us a little bit about why, how you got involved and why it's important to you.
Sure. Todd, are we good? I'll go.
Yep.
So the journey to Chrysalis was a little bit convoluted. I actually didn't know about Chrysalis until about middle of 2019. Thermalvac has always been a second chance employer, focusing on individuals that are essentially unemployable. Chrysalis clients, by nature, the ones that are experiencing extreme poverty, homelessness, experience in the criminal justice system, addiction, domestic violence, we used to seek those guys out, just not knowing that there was a nonprofit out there that could support us in efforts. So when I actually saw a Facebook post by a dear friend, Carrie Nocella, she's a volunteer and a member of our OCAC. She said, hey, had so much fun doing volunteer work today for Chrysalis. And I said, what is that? And she was able to hook me up with Lisa. And once I heard the mission, I fell in love instantly. I said, yes, finally somebody understands that these people out here need a voice. They all have stories worth listening to, and there's someone out there speaking for them and giving them that chance. So I couldn't have been more excited. I actually got really excited, overly so. Lisa had to kind of calm me down a little bit and be like, it's okay, it's okay.
But it sounds like this has been part of the DNA of the company for a long time.
Absolutely. My father, the founder of the business, has 30 years of sobriety himself and has faced numerous different obstacles to overcome. Over 50% of our executive team have experience in the same sort of issues that our Chrysalis clients have experienced. So we're big believers in upward mobility, giving those people chances. We had a guy start out in shipping when he was about 19 years old. He wound up being the president of our company. So we're extremely grateful to those folks who will be loyal and want to dedicate themselves to that second chance that they're offered.
Wow, what a great story. Thanks for sharing that. Todd, how about you? How did you get involved in the work, and how does it resonate for you?
Well, I've actually known about Chrysalis for close to 20 years because I launched something here called a Social Innovation Fund years ago. And everyone said, well, one of the best of social innovation is Chrysalis. You got to get to know what they're doing. So you guys have really been a role model for Orange County in creating earned revenue for an organization that also supports your clients. You know, it's such a great model, and I've helped kind of grow that in Orange County with other nonprofits. And so when I heard that you guys were coming to Orange County, I was very excited because I knew, you know, there was a need for what you're going to do. And of course, got connected to Lisa, we stayed in contact. And what's a little ironic is at OCCF, I like to set goals every year, performance goals and personal goals. One of my personal goals this year was to say no more often because I say yes a lot. But when Lisa reached out and said, hey, will you serve on this advisory committee? I couldn't say no just because I know what you do is so important that maybe I could help out a little bit.
She is hard to say no to, but we appreciate you saying yes, because especially during these times, right? It's not like we have a lot of spare minutes in the day and other challenges that are coming to us. And when you think about what's going on in Orange County and in the state of California and all of the challenges that we face, and there's many, but let's be specific, I guess, here to workforce and employment. What comes to mind to you that we need to do as a community, and how can Chrysalis play a role in that? And Todd, how about we start with you this time?
Sure. So we've got a couple of employment challenges that we're seeing now. Obviously, with all the layoffs from COVID, the pool of applicants now has been flooded with a lot of very highly qualified people. So people that are struggling to get in that queue is going to be tough. So Chrysalis helping navigate is really key. The other big thing we're seeing, obviously, is automation, gig workers. So the work landscape is changing, and having a base in technology is really key. And so if you don't have anyone to help you navigate that landscape, you're going to be left out, and that's not where you want to be. So that's why we really like what Chrysalis is doing.
Yeah, Heather, how about you? I mean, you're in a industry, manufacturing, that we often don't hear as much about in California, and yet my sense is your business is doing pretty good.
We are blessed to be one of those essential businesses, right? Identified by the government as you've got to keep on going. You cannot close down. We need you. And I think that remembering that over 150,000 of those jobs exist just in Orange County. I mean, small business alone is 44% of the entire economic activity in the country. So I think we're going to have an issue with those small businesses exiting because of the COVID-19 impact, and not all of them are essential. So I think we're going to see a lot of exit of the small businesses. We're going to see a lot of exit of aging out of industries. The talent pool is dwindling. And for workforce development, we have a lot of aging industries as well in California. that haven't necessarily made that pivot. When we think of California, we think of Hollywood and, you know, making movies and SpaceX and, you know, space kind of stuff and medical advances, but really that backbone is sitting in those small businesses. So I think it's going to be key for us to bring more small businesses on as hiring partners to get them that exposure to a pipeline that they have never had access to before, didn't even know existed. Because that job market that's flooded is not necessarily the right fit for that kind of business. They don't need an engineer at $150,000. They need a frontline operator at $15 to $18 an hour. So I think it's going to provide a lot of opportunity for that entry level, as long as we can get the word out and engage that community.
When, you know, this is interesting. You both touch on the changing nature of the workforce, and I've heard some economists that are talking about firms that had planned to change the makeup of their workforce to respond to AI or artificial intelligence and other automation tools. That was in their 5-year plan, but they're accelerating all of that now because they had to downsize anyway. And many of those folks that were displaced are just not going to be hired back because the folks that will come back in need some new skills. They need some training opportunities. How do we as a community face getting folks on that career ladder to help them with those training programs? There's the work that we do, which is often very foundational, and we're doing more and more of this vocational skill laddering, but we're just a tiny part of the solution. What do you see going on in the community that can help us advance those training and skill building activities?
Well, I think foundationally, we also need to acknowledge that we are in an emergency pandemic situation that has now become chronic. None of us have skills or abilities to cope with what is going on right now. So I'm seeing a pivot to providing more tools, resources, counseling, and education for people to upskill in that area of crisis management, ongoing, enduring, chronic stress. So I think helping folks upskill in that is going to give them a leg up when they go into some of these new opportunities. They're going to come into a place where they don't even know their boss. They never get to meet their boss. Everything is on Zoom, just like we are now. And helping them to cope with looking at the same 4 walls every day and not getting to do their life activities that they're used to, teaching them those skills, I think it's going to be extremely valuable in the next year, probably 3 years. We're going to see lingering effects of this.
And the other piece to that is the part that I see in my work is, you know, there's a very strong nonprofit community that, well, it's not big enough yet, but some really other good organizations that Chrysalis even partners with that do have job training skills, and they do look for the market. So there's one that we like calling it Hope Builders. They train people in the medical technology and construction, you know, so they're very, very practical, you know, skills that do have a job projection. And there's others out there, but we do need more, because as you said, Mark, you know, things are changing, and you know, Chrysalis does great, but you can't do it alone.
Yeah, things are changing, and Heather, as you said, it's becoming chronic, right? What we thought would be this will be a month, 6 weeks, 3 months. It's going to be a year before we know it, and all of us are going to be returning to a different workplace when there is a vaccine and all the rest of it. The way we do business is just going to change. And some of the changes that we'll make will be for the better. As I was saying earlier, we've been able to engage a lot of clients virtually in ways that I never would have thought possible. So that's a good thing. And we will learn from that, and that will help us serve even more people and have even greater impact more effectively and efficiently in the future. But there are some new skills that come along with that for sure. Heather, how many Chrysalis clients have you hired?
I know we're over 10% of total staff right now. I had a little celebration. I think
Holy smokes, 10% of your staff?
10% of staff, yeah, as Chrysalis folks. One of whom, by the way, is in Arizona right now defending his dissertation for his PhD on the knowledge gap between African-American students during the summer. So check goes to Terry. I love to brag about that. Amazing. So yeah, I think we've got 5 total right now, and I love them all, and they're amazing people that contribute in awesome ways. LaDonna, of course, I think has been featured in the newsletter, but she's our first female plating operator in our 35-year history, and she just hit her one year anniversary here. So very proud.
Wow, and she is very proud of that as well. She's very excited about the opportunity to work with you and learn those skills and be able to advance up the ladder, which is the name of the game, right? We have a tradition at Chrysalis that when somebody gets a job, at least traditionally the way we do this, when we're open, somebody rings a bell in our lobby and we all gather around and we hear the story of that client and share with them their success. But we know that's a step on the journey. That first job may be the first job a client has had in years or maybe even ever, but it's not the destination. It's getting prepared to get back into the workforce and hopefully advance up through the opportunities that are available at the firm. So we really appreciate you making that available to us.
Absolutely.
Well, I think we will probably have some questions from the audience that Tiffany has been curating for us. Tiffany, do you have some things you want to ask our panelists tonight?
I do. Okay, so let's start with, sorry, I was just looking back on the Donna story, so a little bit distracted. Let's see. We got a question from one of our members who was wondering what we meant by brand new clients and since when. Mark, can you go back to that?
Yeah, what I was referring to, the number that I cited of 1,600 or something like that, new clients since March 16th. So all of those numbers that I was talking about before, we kind of think of pre-COVID and post-COVID. So those are new clients just since March 16th, all of whom we've worked with in a virtual mode only.
Sounds good. Awesome. We also got a question about this working for 100 thing that we mentioned in the poll, but didn't really elaborate on. So who can speak to what is working for 100?
Go for it, Todd.
All right, I'll take that because I think I was one that kind of helped come up with that concept because I like just nice even numbers and something you can get to. And the goal is to place 100 people in jobs in 100 days. That's the concept. And we need to raise $100,000 to do that. So that all lines up. And so it's both a fundraising campaign, but also kind of a motivational tactic to really push things forward, get more people in jobs. And because we all can identify that. We talked about at the very beginning, where'd you work first? A job is so important. And if you don't have one right now, you want a Chrysalis out there working for 100 and more.
And there's been some media to support that, right? Little videos.
Tons of videos. We've had I don't even remember how many, but about once every couple of weeks, we release a new YouTube video of folks talking about their experience in overcoming obstacles, how they've got employment, who gave them their first chance. The stories are compelling. I have to plan when I watch them because frankly, I tend to get a little emotional seeing all these people's stories, but we figured by making it real, showing that everybody has overcome something and that Chrysalis is here to support you no matter what your struggle may be. We're trying to make it more real, trying to reach that audience out there that might not have even been able to identify with the mission of Chrysalis. These are real people just focusing on Orange County, getting people in jobs, and they're business leaders and icons, people that you know and have heard of before. So I'm sure they'll throw up the YouTube site that lists all the videos that we've released so far. I think Todd's actually just came out recently or will be.
Tiffany, can we put that link in the chat?
Yes, we can. While I do that and multitask a bit, I wanted to ask a follow-up. So we had a question about who's in these videos. So there are a ton of videos people are hearing about, but like who is in the videos? Aside from the OCAC.
So I'm terrible with names. Todd might be able to speak better to names, but
it's a mix. So Donnie Crevier, I think he did one of the first. He obviously founder of Crevier BMW, and a big, I work closely with him here in his philanthropy. And so when I was asked for ideas, he came to mind because he's a big proponent of jobs. And then also you have some folks from Disney. You have John, who's from the Anaheim Community Foundation, and they're big supporters of Chrysalis, and he greatly understands the importance of work, and he's got some really fun jobs he can talk about as a magician and a guitar player and running a foundation.
Yeah, what I find interesting about these short videos is these may be people that you recognize through the media or other things today and have big jobs, but they started pretty humbly, like most of us did in our first job. And I did see a question about whether this is a OC thing. We did this as a OC Orange County focused project. So everybody that is featured is a OC luminary of some sort. But part of the reason I really wanted both of you to be with us tonight is to talk about just the broader thing of engaging community members. And this has worked out great for us in Orange County. We're the new kid on the block, and all of you have really helped us expand our reach. But we're looking at how we can use this same concept in other regions of our reach. We've got offices in the San Fernando Valley, in Santa Monica, downtown, in South LA. And our program works best and is most successful when we have strong partnerships, not just for fundraising, which is of course important for a nonprofit, but also for jobs, and having folks that serve as ambassadors for our work and can help tell their networks about everything that we do. And you two and the other members of the advisory council have been fantastic at doing that. I see by the big clock on the little lower right-hand corner of my computer screen that we're at 6:30. And as Tiffany mentioned at the start, we like to begin our work on time and finish our work on time at Chrysalis. Todd, Heather, we really, really appreciate you joining us tonight and sharing a bit of your experience and for everything you're doing to help us grow and help our clients in Orange County. And Tiffany, as always, thank you very much for hosting tonight and multitasking and picking up new skills, right? You didn't have to do this before COVID, and now you've picked up a new skill as a Zoom host. Thanks to everybody that joined us today, and I hope you have a great holiday season. Watch out for our first broadcast of 2021. I can't even believe I'm saying that, but we'll be back with you again in January. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.